Greetings and welcome back to the Casual Wargamer. Today's preview: Dwarves in Space. Yes, right. Dwarves in Space. Leagues of Votann. I liked the original squats, Road Trader era. They were cool. They were fun. They were just that slightly bit off from the rest of the setting. They were kind of an Imperial Guard esque in like flak jackets with las guns and running around on trikes. Um, they had rhinos, weird sort of engineer, almost Terminator type guys. And I remember the original army list, you could take a commissar, but you weren't able to shoot them because they weren't actually Imperial. Um, and they were cool. They were dwarf Hell's Angels in space. But as Games Workshop took the setting and they moved on with it, that sort of concept went the wrong way. It wasn't where they wanted it to go, and they couldn't think how to update it. And that's why the squats got eaten by the Tyranids. And it's a shame, but I can see the reasoning. So when they announced a while back about we were going to get Space Dwarves again, I mean, there had been some rumours back under Sixth about Demiurge being added as part of the Tau army. Never happened, unfortunately. But we all thought that's where they were going to plonk them. But then, last year, we got that little April Fool's preview, and then we got hit with the full Leagues of Votann redo. And I personally lost all interest. I'm not a fan of the aesthetics. I don't like the look. I wanted something that was kind of the original but upped. So any desire to play that army disappeared with the previews. And when it came out, it was woefully overpowered. It was a terrible army. They even a lot of stores and tournaments outright banned the army until they got a nerf. And I fully agree on that. You can discuss it and say that the Games Workshop were doing this because they wanted a huge influx of cash. And once they got it, suddenly they had their whole James Workshop silly video. Oh, we made a mistake and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we Games Workshop had previous. We know what they're like. Now, I have only played against Votann twice in the last 6 months, and they are a very strong army. Very strong. They have slightly too many rules. They slightly have too many buffs. In fact, when I last played them, which was only a few weeks ago now, I struggled in the game simply through trying to keep my own brain going on what I could and couldn't do with them and what they were capable of, and it actually kind of hurt. So, saying that, they're fun to play against. It's cool. They are space dwarves. We've got space elves, the space orcs, the space undead. So it's nice to play against an army that I don't get to play against. We've got a preview. It came out last week from Games Workshop on their website. And I've got to say, I like the 10th edition changes to the Leagues of Votann. All those awkward and overpowered rules seem to have gone away. Things have been readdressed, rebalanced, and they do seem a lot better. For one, the detachment rule, the detachment rule and the army rule, which is to do with the grudge tokens, or judgment tokens, I should say, has been significantly rebalanced. Now it's just a case of +1 to hit, and then when they've got 2 tokens, +1 to hit and +1 to wound. And for an army that's now dropped to a 4-up ballistic skill, I think this is a nice balance. it takes the concept that you want it to do and it makes it work in a fair way for both you and your opponent. With the Ruthless Efficiency, this is the Oathband Detachment rule. Start of the battle, you pick you pick one unit from your opponent's army, and they start with 2 judgment tokens. And depending on what point in the game you manage to destroy them, earlier rather than later, you gain CP reward. If that unit is destroyed in the first, second round, you get 3. Third or fourth, you get 2, and in the 5th round, you get 1. And obviously, if you fail to take it out, you get nothing. I like this. It's flavourful. Depending on what your opponent brings, you could easily score this on the first turn with some of the options that they get. But again, depending when you have to nominate this, they might hide that unit and make you come to them, make you take it out. So there are ways sort of like round it. But at least you could use that as an opportunity to say, well, at least that unit's not doing anything to me in the game. They're hiding. So I think the judgment token thing, the rules, works a lot better. It's much more fair, much more balanced, much more flavourful. Which brings us to the unit reviews. Hearthkin Warriors. So they're giving us the usual battle line troop type option. Looking at the stat block, they seem much better. They are still high enough strength on their weapons. The AP is more reasonable and it's light damage. Although the plasma weapons are still going to basically an AP strength 8 -3, 2 damage. They're still going to be marine killers. But I don't mind particularly because they look a lot better on paper, at least. They have this weird ability. Luck has, need keeps, toil earns, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. But basically, it means that they have sticky objectives. Now, I haven't seen the Marines get this at the moment, but this is the first we've seen that anybody else gets it. That's interesting that they do. But again, we haven't seen anything from the other books. So the other battle line options in different code seats will get it. And then you've got their war gear abilities, so they can ignore cover, potentially get CPs back, feel no pain, and have a 4-up invulnerable save. Now, obviously, we haven't seen this, see whether you have to pay points for these, or this is something that's the default on the unit. I'm assuming you're going to have to buy these things if you want them, and maybe it might just be that you can have one of them. Normally, I say on these previews that the basic troop choices are particularly interesting. This is probably the first one where I've really gone, oh, nice. The second preview is the awesome Heckerton Land Fortress, which is a beast. It's a big boy. And it's still the same here. It's like a Land Raider. It's just a solid chunk of metal that you are going to struggle to get through. You're looking at toughness 12, 16 wounds, a 2-up save, and bristling with weapons. For the most part, these are, by looks of it, reasonable strength weapons, reasonable AP, and depending on what you're looking at, the damage is quite good. The heavy Magna Rail Cannon is still very, very strong. 30-inch range, only one attack. You're hitting on 4's default, strength 18. So if you want to shoot that one guy off an objective, you're going to do it. Otherwise, you are definitely wounding vehicles on 3s, which is, whereas we're seeing things like melter weapons and the like wounding on 5s, which makes no sense to me. There you go. It's devastating wounds and heavy. So if it sits there, it's sitting on 3s. Plus, grudge tokens, it could be 2s. Although saying that, can you modify it higher than that in this edition? I'll have to double check. AP -4 and D6 +6 damage. It's very strong. It's hard to say whether it's more balanced than it is under 9th. I think it's going to be just like Land Raiders, and like it's going to be a sod to get rid of once it's on the table. So hopefully it's pointed appropriately. It also has a couple of special abilities. It has fire support. So basically, if you've got a unit that has jumped out, if they shoot the same unit that the land fortress targeted, they get to reroll the wound rolls, which is quite nice. It gives you a reason to have a unit jump up with it rather than just leap out and shoot something else. And the Pan-Spectral Scanner ignores cover. So I still think your Votann army is going to be good and shooty. It just feels more balanced by these previews. And that's what I think what Games Workshop is striving for, to try and get that. If you watch the MetaWatch videos, they want to do this 45 to 55% win rate. So far, on all of these previews that they've given us, I think on an index level, these armies are all going to be relatively within that bubble. But we shall see. And I think that balancing out so far from these two previews and the rules they've given us, they seem to be more in keeping with everybody else, which is nice. The other preview they've given here are the Conversion Beamer, which looks like it could be really horrid. Sustained hits D3, and the conversion rule is if an attack is made with this weapon, if the target is more than 12 inches, an unmodified successful hit roll of 4+ scores a critical hit. That's going to be nasty. It's going to do a lot of damage. And ow. The next thing they give us is the reactive reprisal stratagem, which is a little bit odd. It's with a slight change in that it has to be an enemy unit that has one or more judgment tokens on it. It's basically the same we can shoot the unit that just shot us ability that Sisters of Battle have. And it's 1 CP extra. It's a bit strange that it's not the same cost, because you've got to still have a judgment token on them. And that's what we've got as a preview for the leagues. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but I like this. I like that the silly combination of rules has gone, that you haven't got to be thinking about umpteen different things. There's no sign at the moment that you can't do rerolls or any of that silly stuff. Are loads of Votann players going to be selling off their armies because this does not look like it was when they were released for 9th? We shall see. Probably one of the more positive, in my mind, previews that we've been given so far. So I think the Space Dwarves are here to stay, and we'll see how they get on. Let me know what you think about the Leagues of Votann in these previews. I would be very interested. In the meantime, give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the comments down below. Take care, guys, and good gaming.